You wake up. Before you eat, before you speak to anyone, you do something strange. You look in a mirror. You adjust something. Your hair, a necklace, the collar of your shirt. Maybe you put on earrings. Maybe you apply something to your face that changes its color. You do this without thinking. It feels less like decoration and more like a requirement, like brushing your teeth. You would feel wrong walking outside without it. Here's the disruption. That urge is not new. It is not modern. It is not even tied to the invention of mirrors, or clothing, or cities. Evidence now places deliberate human body decoration at over 100,000 years old. Older than farming, older than the wheel, older than written language. This will change how you think about vanity. What feels like a modern indulgence, makeup, jewelry, tattoos, turns out to be one of the oldest continuous behaviors in the human story. It may be older than most of what we call civilization, and the reasons behind it are stranger and more useful than looking good. Start in South Africa, at a site called Blombos Cave, about 300 kilometers east of Cape Town. In 2008, archaeologist Christopher Henshelwood and his team excavated a toolkit inside the cave dating back roughly 100,000 years. Inside were two abalone shells. Ground inside them was a mixture of red ochre, crushed bone, charcoal, and a binding liquid, likely water or marrow fat. It was, functionally, a paint kit. Henshelwood and his team have suggested the most likely use was decoration on skin or clothing, though the researchers themselves are careful to note this is the leading hypothesis, not a confirmed fact, since no residue of it has ever been found on an actual body. The ochre itself wasn't new. Humans had been collecting it for tens of thousands of years before that, but this was something else, a processed, mixed, storable pigment made with intention, kept for reuse. Henshelwood's team also found ochre pieces engraved with deliberate cross-hatched patterns, dated to around 75,000 years ago at the same site. These aren't tool marks, they're not accidental. Someone sat down and carved a pattern into a rock for no survival reason anyone can identify. That's the pivot most people miss. Ochre doesn't keep you warm. It doesn't help you hunt. It has no caloric value, and yet humans were mining it, grinding it, mixing it, and applying it at least 100,000 years ago, nearly 60,000 years before the oldest confirmed cave paintings in Europe, which date to roughly 40,800 years ago. Before humans were reliably painting on walls, they may already have been painting themselves, but ochre alone could be explained away. Maybe it was sunscreen, maybe it was insect repellent, maybe it had some practical function we're not seeing. The next piece of evidence is harder to explain. In the early 2000s, at two sites in Israel, School Cave and Kafze Cave, near the Sea of Galilee, archaeologists found small perforated shells belonging to a marine snail called Nasarius. Researchers have dated these shells to somewhere between 100,000 and 135,000 years old, a range that's been revisited and debated over the years, but which consistently lands well over 90,000 years no matter how it's refined. Similar shells turned up at Oued Jabana in Algeria and Grotta des Pigeons in Morocco, hundreds of kilometers from the nearest coastline at the time. That detail matters. These shells had to be carried inland, deliberately, across long distances, by people who had no practical use for them once they left the shore. The shells all showed the same signature, a hole, worn smooth at a specific point, consistent with being strung and worn, likely as a necklace or attached to clothing. Researcher Marian Van Haren, who studied the pattern of wear on these shells, concluded the damage matched the friction of repeated rubbing against skin or fabric, the way a pendant rubs against a chest when someone walks. These weren't tools, they were jewelry, worn by people who lived in a world with no metal, no woven cloth as we'd recognize it, and no permanent settlements. Two separate behaviors, pigment on skin, shells on string, showing up on two different continents, tens of thousands of years apart from each other, but both older than 90,000 years. That's not a coincidence easily explained by trend or fashion. It suggests something deeper was already wired into the species before it left Africa in large numbers. And here's where it gets stranger. This wasn't just us. In 2018, a team led by archaeologist João Zilhão and geochronologist Dirk Hoffman published findings from a cave site in Spain, Cueva de los Aviones, near Cartagena. Inside, they found perforated shells stained with pigment, alongside lumps of yellow and red colorant, and shell containers with traces of complex pigment mixtures. Using uranium-thorium dating on the flowstone sealing the deposit, they dated the material to between 115,000 and 120,000 years old. That date matters more than it seems. At that point in time, Homo sapiens had not yet arrived in that part of Europe. The only humans in that region were Neanderthals. That means Neanderthals, a species popular culture spent a century depicting as brutish and cognitively simple, were piercing shells, mixing pigments, and keeping personal ornamentation before modern humans ever reached the same continent. This wasn't a behavior we taught them. It wasn't copied. The researchers themselves go further than that. They argue it's possible the roots of this behavior trace back to a common ancestor, Neanderthals, and modern humans shared more than 500,000 years ago. Two different human species, separated by tens of thousands of years and thousands of kilometers, arrived at the same conclusion. Mark the body, wear the object, signal something about yourself to others. That fact alone should unsettle the idea that decoration is a byproduct of advanced civilization. It's not downstream of culture. It may be one of the foundations culture was built on, but here's where the story shifts from what humans did to why. And one of the leading explanations isn't about beauty at all. It's about information. Some researchers studying ochre use in southern Africa have proposed it functioned as a signaling system, a way of transmitting data about a person before a single word was exchanged. Group affiliation, age, status, reproductive availability, even emotional state. In a world without name tags, resumes, or uniforms, your body was the only surface available to broadcast who you were and where you belonged. A specific pattern of red ochre across the cheekbones might mean, I am of this group. A necklace of 40 shells, taking real time and real skill to assemble, communicated something no words could. I have resources, I have patience, someone values me enough to help me make this, or I had the skill to make it myself. There's a modern echo of this, even if it's a much smaller and more recent data point. In a 2008 field study, French psychologist Nicolas Guéguin had women sit in a bar wearing either makeup or none, and tracked how men responded. When the women wore makeup, they were approached by more men and approached faster than when they wore none. A follow-up 2012 study by the same researcher found similar results for hitchhikers wearing red lipstick. It's a single line of modern research and shouldn't be read as proof of a 100,000-year mechanism, but it's a small, suggestive hint that the signaling function of decoration hasn't fully disappeared. That reframes the shell necklace at School Cave. It wasn't jewelry in the modern sense of accessory. It was closer to a badge, a resume, a flag, worn on a body that had no other way to carry information across a room or across 100,000 years. Except there was a problem with this signaling theory, and it's one researchers didn't solve for years. If decoration is just about advertising status or fitness, why does it show up in burials? Why decorate someone who is dead, someone who has no more status to gain, no mate to attract, nothing left to prove? The answer came from a grave. In 1956, at a site called Sungir, roughly 190 kilometers east of Moscow, Soviet archaeologist Otto Bader began excavating a burial complex that would eventually date to approximately 34,000 years ago. Among the graves, two stood out. Buried head-to-head were two children, roughly 10 and 12 years old. Around them, more than 10,000 ivory beads carved from mammoth tusk, about 5,000 on one child and 5,400 on the other, along with armbands, hundreds of pierced fox teeth, and ivory spears. Nearby, in a separate grave, lay an adult man buried with his own set of roughly 3,000 ivory beads and additional ornaments. Across the graves, the site holds well over 13,000 hand-carved beads in total. Later analysis estimated each bead took roughly 45 minutes to produce by hand. Applied to the children's graves alone, that's an estimated 7,500 hours of labor, the equivalent of nearly 4 years of full-time work, poured into decorating people who could no longer see it, wear it, or benefit from it in any practical sense. This broke the simple version of the signaling theory. You don't spend years of collective labor impressing a corpse. Something else was happening. The decoration wasn't just for the living observer anymore. It had become symbolic, a way of marking that a life and a death mattered. The ornamentation was no longer information about the person's current status. It was a statement, made by the group, that this person was still valued even in absence. That's not biology, that's meaning-making, and it predates writing, agriculture, and cities by tens of thousands of years. So the practice that started as pigment ground into an abalone shell 100,000 years ago in a cave above the Indian Ocean didn't stay a survival tool or a mating signal. It became something humans used to say two different things, depending on the moment. This is who I am, or this is who you were. Sometimes both at once. You still do this. Every piece of jewelry you own that belonged to someone who died. Every tattoo that marks a date or a name. Every time you dress a certain way before walking into a room full of strangers. You're running an operating system that's over 100,000 years old. The materials changed. Ochre became makeup. Shell beads became gold. But the underlying behavior, using your body as a surface to transmit who you are, who you belong to, or who you've lost, hasn't changed since before your species had language to explain why it was doing it. Which raises the real question. If the urge to decorate the body is older than speech, older than agriculture, older than almost everything we call civilization, then decoration was never the accessory. It might be one of the oldest instruments instructions your body is still following, long after everyone who wrote it is gone.